Hello, everyone. It's Cheryl Millett live at 8 All Things Omegas. I'll be doing this about twice a month, maybe even once a week, because there's so many things that are coming up these days with fats, perhaps, or even aging. And the increase you could see from the Facebook page or the Omega page, where I was actually showing a chart with the increase rates of everything, increase rates of all the number of the diseases that they had on there from now until 2040. And there were some significant increases. I'll try and see if I can pull it up here. But today I wanted to cover off something about age spots. And in listening to, this one researcher, which I won't say his name, and in his continued dialogue, and also in the blogs or articles that he's selling, he talks about yellow fat disease, and how that will show up in age spots, basically. And if you have age spots, which is on the skin, then meaning that there is more of that within your body. Now, age spots can be also looked at, or have often been referred to as liver spots. And I just want to kind of simplify that and simplify a couple of things here. One is, if our body isn't balanced, or let's say we don't have the amount of oxygen we need, the various nutrients that we'd get from our food, then things will age. We see that even in nature. If we don't pick the apple off the tree will eventually fall and go brown and mushy and whatever, and go back to the earth. So that is a natural process that happens with anything natural. Some are more stable and some are a lot less stable. And you'll see that evidence of that if you start observing your food, whether you're storing it in the fridge or you just look at nature. And we have these cycles too. And cycles will actually bring about things with a growing and then dying. And we have that in the winter time, right? And it's just, again, nature. And then we get seeds and we get fruit and we eat them. So to make a long story short, we do have these age spots, and they can be looked upon as a symptom of something deeper going on in the body. And we can look to our food and the way we eat if you choose to. I mean, some people just feel they don't want to change anything. They like everything that they're doing and carry on. And you will see the age spots typically, and they can be actually on the face as well. You've seen it in more elderly people, and but it can happen. It can happen at any age. For me, at one point, I did have age spots. I'm guessing that it was early 30s that these age spots were appearing, and it could have been mid 20s, because I started changing my diet closer to the end of their, as life carries on, and they're gone. And I mean, they're completely gone, and they haven't come back, just based on some of what I've been doing with my diet. My diet's not perfect. I mean, I will enjoy some pizza with the kids every once in a while, surely not, twice or three times a week, but just what I'm doing uniquely to me, it makes a difference that way. So when we think of omegas, just to get back to oxidation, a number of the plant omegas, and let's think of the oils, even walnut oil, will oxidize far earlier, they found in a study, than what was led to believe on the expiry date that was on there. I have surely experienced and tested the oxidation of even the olive oil, because even in olive oil there's some polyunsaturated fats that way, and they tend to oxidize sooner than like a saturated. But I've tasted even oxidized coconut oil. And when we think of omegas and oxidation, one of the things that is clear from 10 years working with the seal oil and the experience, and then the biochemist speaking to me about it, and just my own research, is that the plant omegas, be it flax, much higher in omega-3 and not balanced with omega-6, actually more skewed to omega-3, these oils oxidize quite quickly. And to consume oxidated oils, I agree, if we don't have enough of the nutrients in our body to offset that, then that can show up as aging, can show up as oxidation, oxidated cells, age spots, that kind of thing. And when we think of fish oils, fish oil also oxidizes, because you may have experienced that when we catch fish smells like the water. And once it starts to oxidize and break down, then it starts to smell very fishy. It's just oxidated fish, basically. And much of the fish oil has, through some of the doctors I've listened to who've done this research, is already oxidized by the time it is in the capsule. If it's cold pressed, you're going to have that oxidation continuing, further continuing. But what we end up doing with our oils, including the omegas, is we actually refine them, bleach them, and deodorize. So you don't really get to experience the smell of it going rancid, because it's taken it through a process where it's heated, just like it sounds, bleaching. So if the oil's got any, it's turning dark due to the heat, then you have this bleaching, so it looks clear. And then you have the deodorizing, so you don't get the smells. And there's maybe degumming. They're trying to take out the factors of these vegetable oils, be it the omegas, the omega-3s, or nature them, so they don't oxidize. And that's my take on it. Even with the canola oil, which we think is genetically modified, is that by taking that out, that makes it more shelf stable. But I will say quite often in most of my videos, is that you do not want to be consuming refined, bleached, and deodorized vegetable oil. So unless it says cold pressed, or one of those cold pressing, and they may come up with different names, but unless it's that, then you are going to be getting refined. So if it doesn't say anything on the label cold pressed, then it's definitely refined. So omegas are more susceptible to oxidation, and that's just as nature has it. They are a key nutrient, I believe, but yes, they do oxidize quite quickly. So whether it's oxidizing at the level of raw material, or it's being further oxidized and denatured when the processing is happening, and or in your cooking, the cooking process, because there's still omegas or fatty acids, or these essential fatty acids, in a variety of food. They're just not, as we think of monounsaturated for olive oil, that's just not all mono. There's some saturated fats in there as well, and some polyunsaturated fats. What I will say about the mammalian omegas that I talk about is, again, they're not just all omega-3 as well. It's less than a third, which means there's other fatty acids in there, including monounsaturated fats, even some cholesterol, and even probably some saturated. And I'm just looking for that kind of profile for the seal oil. But it's a mammalian molecule with a different structure, like butter being from mammal as well, or lard or tallow, these others. They're more stable. It's just how nature makes them, I guess. The seal has been around. I was talking to my friend Dr. Jan Datson this morning, and he was saying, I was telling him through the vision that I did with somebody who's Aboriginal, the seal came in and it says we are evolved on this planet And our oil is wisdom for your cells beyond the biological. And Dr. Jan says to me, yeah, the seals have been around for a long time. Even during the Ice Age, the seals, as long as they're the water, ice, they prefer that. So they've been around for a very, very long time. And I guess that's where you could say, oh, hi, Jenna. Do monounsaturated oils degrade faster than polyunsaturated or vice versa? Typically, we can look at that question a couple of ways. One, we can look at the source of the mono, let's say, or poly. If it's mammal, in this case of the seal, it's more stable. But generally speaking, monounsaturated is more stable than the polyunsaturated. Again, the source will matter. It'll also matter on the balance that's within the oils. I surely have absolutely seen or tasted the rancidity of olive oil oxidizing over time. Even coconut oil, be it coconut oil is a saturated fat, it's not all saturated fat. So with certain conditions, you can get all oils being oxidated. Butter seems to be quite stable, or ghee, where it's pure fat, seems to be quite stable. But I surely have, tasted oxidated coconut oil primarily in foods, not so much on its own. So I hope that helps. But yes, polyunsaturated would oxidize. And of that polyunsaturated, if there's a good majority of what we call the essential fats, particularly the omega-3, the omega-3 does have an affinity for oxygen, which in our body is not a bad thing, but we do have to be able to offset oxidation with antioxidants, if I have to say that, or whatever the body deems as supporting things from oxidating. So that's why I was talking about the age spots as being a sign of oxidated cells. And be it if you have age spots at any age, then that's just a sign, a symptom of things that are going on in the body, no different than skin cancer, although that can be at a surface level. But the skin is very appreciative of the omega-6 and of the omega-3. So we need healthy forms. What I'm really going to try to comment on here is that if oils are refined or processed or heated, they may denature them so you don't have that oxidative thing. But then what you have is something that's suboptimal fats for your body. They wouldn't be natural, and that would not serve our health that well. So just to reiterate that, we have to look at two sides here when it comes to healthy fats. One is in its raw state, whether our body uses it effectively, efficiently. Is it really for us? Or like the krill, is it more so for the sperm whale and we don't digest it properly? And then to consider, you've got this raw material, what's being done with the raw material to the time that you consume it. And what I was adding on today is if the body is rich in nutrients, then we don't have, potentially we don't have, from what I hear and research, we don't have the oxidation of certain nutrients within our body, be it omega-3, might be one of those nutrients that oxidate in our state when we're not healthy. So I hope that makes sense, Jenna. I hope that answers that question, but you can surely put other questions or elaborate if there's another one there, Jenna. So today I really wanted to talk about the age spots and how that may be related. You might be hearing things about oxidated fats, particularly omegas, but they're not all created equal. So the omega-3s from the seal are not the same omega-3s, especially in the molecule that they're in, like the fish or like the plant. So we have to really And you're welcome, Jenna. We really have to consider all angles here. Sometimes what I see is definitely people are drawing conclusions based on maybe research, maybe a lot of information. I don't know. There's a lot of information out there, but from what I can understand and from what I can bring after 10 years and being in the health field and research is that we have a lot of food on our planet, and this food, if it's whole food and real food, will be for food for certain, creatures, animals, and we kind of navigate to what we should be eating. And from what I understand is the Inuit don't even eat any fish. The seal eats the fish, and they focus on getting their rich nutrients from both the seal meat and also the seal blubber. And that there's been a number of cultures that relied on the marine blubber and would use these oils to with other foods, So it seems to me that the foods that are out there in nature are going to break down. If they don't break down, then, we don't eat the bark of a tree, but again, if a tree gets old enough, it will break down and eventually become part of the earth, however long that takes. But we want to understand that the foods do break down. That's nature, and we would want that to happen. Otherwise, you'd be just looking at more plastic, really, and that's not what we want to consume. So real food, even somewhat raw food or low cook, slow cook, those kind of things, is going to be valuable. I'll talk a little bit more about cooking, probably on my Live at 5 on Mondays, because it'll be relating to that. But when it comes to omegas, I think some of these researchers are absolutely correct. Stay away from fish oils. Stay away from the refined plant oils. Maybe even consider, when you're consuming your oils in general, that it's cold pressed, that they are, I guess what I was saying, in as far as they're heated or stuff like that. And yeah, you just don't want them to be oxidized. Walnuts, you want to be up quickly. And I think for the most cases, and I've had people talk to me about this, about the seal oil bottles, is that they're quite often going, what can I get a bottle that's 2 times the size? Don't you have it in bigger bottles? And what I would just say to that is really when we get into fats and you're buying these huge containers, maybe coconut oil's okay. Butter surely would be okay, fridge, freezer, that kind of stuff. But some of these other oils that you're just leaving out, fridge or not, they need to be eaten up quite quickly. So even if you have bars made with coconut oil, I would suggest you put them in the fridge, or understand that fats, if they're in their raw natural state, that they should be consumed quickly. So I'm all for small bottles, even for olive oil, even for good, high quality olive oils. No sense getting the big jugs of them unless you're using it up quite quickly. So omega-3s, anything with omega-3s in it will fall into the potential of being oxidated quickly, more so for the plants and also for the fish. But if you have a raw seal oil, like the one I've been using, that it's very stable. So what happens is, I think somebody mentioned they opened a bottle and then put it on the shelf, and even after 6 months, it was okay to consume. But I usually say to people, yeah, you get a bottle, you finish up within the month or less. So we can look at oils, again, in different ways. You want to consume less oxidated oils by far, and you can do that in many ways by not heating them, not consuming them refined, which is most of what's out there. And where you say vegetable oil but doesn't say cold press, it's going to be refined. And that doesn't even matter if it's safflower, sunflower, we see all these lovely seed oils, and besides soybean and canola, they'll still be refined. That's a way for them to denature them enough so that they don't go rancid and they will stay shelf stable for many months and many years. But do the experiment. Try your oils. If you've got any oils at home, just take a teaspoon of them when you first open the bottle and note to self what it tastes like. And then a couple of weeks later, or even a week later, or every week, however you want to do it, try it again. Take a little bit and put it in your mouth and see if you notice the difference. I do. So, and it might, again, depend on which fat. So the less that it changes over time, the better. And then you'll know that your storage is working and that the oil is a good quality and cold press. So that's what I wanted to talk today about was, all oxidated fats, and that will show up in our body. It will show up. Oxidated fats will show up in our body. If it's not the right fats, if you're not converting them, then you're not going to get the results anyway. You will be just putting oxidated fats in your body. So there are some people out there that are quite adamant that you shouldn't consume a drop of omega-3. And I'm just kind of bringing the balanced way of looking at it. They're important for our body, but we need to make sure they're not oxidated. So I hope that makes sense. That was really what today or tonight was all about. And there's much to talk about omegas. We'll come on board again another couple of weeks, or maybe we'll start doing it once a week. We'll see where people are at. But thank you, and this will be recorded, and I'm going to upload it on YouTube, my YouTube channel, so it'll be much easier for people to locate past ones and things that they're interested in. So I want to just wish everybody a good night. Thanks for watching. If you're watching this later, thanks for coming on board, Jenna, and anybody else. And we will look forward to continuing bringing education to you on all things omega. It's Cheryl Millett, live at 8 on Facebook. So take care and have a wonderful evening.